wow. Okay, guys. So dark. See if we can get some light in here. What's going on, guys? Yep, second stream, same night. It's amazing. All right. Looks like I've got it in there. So, on the earlier stream tonight that I did, where I was showing the comic book birthday haul and talking about all that stuff, one of the things that popped up during lunch day was Charlton66, his channel. My buddy Steve there, he was doing this test. Turns out there's a big tag thing going on. And I don't participate in the community like I used to. So I tracked it down, the original video, and I think it's from the Comic Collector. He's got 25 questions to test how big of a comic nerd you are. And I'm playing to have fun. I won't go on the rant about the terms geek and nerd with this hobby and stuff, but there's 25 questions, 1 point for every question you answer. I guess you get a point out of the 25 questions and stuff here, right? So I figured I'll just have a little fun with this. A few people actually did want me to do this, so I'm kind of glad they did it. I'm not going to do this thing where I tag a few people and stuff. You want to do it, you can do it. But the original video is on the Comic Collector channel. How big of a comic nerd are you? Question mark, a test. So that's what's out there. So who's out there, man? Who is out there? We got some people popping up here. We'll give a few people just a few seconds here to pop in. I'm coming at you at 8:43, March 5th, 2020, prime time on the East Coast here for people who still watch cable television. So I'm going up against the a prime time slot during the week here, being silly. All right. So I really haven't looked over the questions. I just scanned them to make sure that I had them. Here are the questions. So without further ado, we'll start with number one. And I'm sure like you're on the edge of your seat here, so like, how big of a nerd is he? He's being very obnoxious now. Okay. Hey, Warsmith Scotty. Not too much. Not to repeat myself here, but on the repeat of this, there's 25 questions I'm going to ask here about collecting to determine if I'm a comic book nerd. So we'll see. This is all for fun. Okay, so question number one. Have you ever nitpicked a book over condition? Oh, absolutely. So, and it's not out of an anal thing. It's over years of disappointment or getting that one book you want. There's a G.I. Joe annual, but I think it was called the G.I. Joe yearbook for Marvel. I think it's number 2. It's a Mike Golden drawn issue. I had it when I was a kid. I read it because Mike Golden actually drew the vehicles that look like the actual G.I. Joe toys of the 80s and stuff. Things like that. But, I tried to buy that book again to kind of replace it, right? Because it's one of the few books that I read until it disintegrated in my hand. Like the Marvel Super Special with Kiss from the 70s. That was another one that I read until it actually dissolved, right? So I would try to get this book, and there would always be something wrong with it, right? Somebody would clip out the, the subscription or the coupon block in the back. There's always something wrong with it. Pages missing in the middle. So I've gotten to where I'll really check staples and stuff to make sure I'm not getting ripped off and just not be disappointed. So I guess I have a point. But I think anything you do like that. Hey, Charleston66. Hey, Tim, could you see? Good to see you back. I did not tag you when I did it because I know how much you loathe the term nerd and geek. Yes, that's right, man. But it's okay. This is all for fun. Yeah. I don't know when you jumped in here, but I've already said I'm not really tagging anybody. They can just do it. And I told them the original channel to go to. So it's all good, man. Don't worry about it. All for fun here. So yeah, I've nitpicked a book over condition. And the other thing is when you go to flea markets and yard sales and stuff, you will eventually, if you have not already, run into those people who don't understand conditions of books. They're like, look at it. The original price tag was 35 cents, and that's all you can. It's talking to a wall to them. They're so ignorant that you can pull up on the phone. You can do whatever you want, but these people will want something like $25 for a book that's ripped up, chipped. Somebody wiped their ass on, just all kinds of stuff, right? And they're like, but it says 35 cents, it says 10 cents and 12 cents. And they'll want like an arm and a leg for it. So yeah, yeah. Okay, number 2, have you ever sniped someone off eBay? Well, yeah, I've had to. I played fair. I actually started eBay, I think in 1998ish, with my brother's account. I would go over to his place. He showed me this great eBay thing before it really took off. I actually remember seeing somebody having a 6-pack of Dallas beer, Dallas based off the TV show, I think, on there for like $2.50. I mean, I remember eBay at the I guess as close to the beginning as I can get. But yeah, I soon learned that it was all fun and games, and then this more as it grew and more people figured out there were comic books on there and things that I was looking for. I'd really be mad that I would miss out on an auction in the last 5-10 seconds. Like what happened? And eventually there was like rumors going around and things that were starting to go around that people actually had computer programs, or they were hiring people who do nothing but get on the computer and bid on their auctions to the last seconds they get it. So I've ended up sniping people just to get it, just to have a book, because it's a jungle out there. It's survival of the fittest. So I don't like it, but it's like a necessary evil. If you really want to get what you want to get, you can be sniped or you can be the sniper. But I like to say I sold quite a bit on eBay, and I saw a lot of people snipe on other people. So I mean, I think it's just like I said, something that happened. Number 3, have you ever paid over $100 for a book or went over your budget / went over your budget? Not for a single book. No, honestly. And, I'm going to reserve the right to correct myself if something pops in my head. The most I've ever paid for an actual comic book was $27. And it was for a Johnny Quest 1964 Gold Key book, the only Johnny Quest comic that came out during the 60s. And it was based off the cartoon The Lizard Men. And that's just because it was like, I consider it one of my grails and stuff. I'm really trying to think if I have paid anything over that for a single comic. Most of the time it's I found a good deal. I was able to haggle, maybe did a trade. But on the other hand, I've gone over my budget at these cons and stuff. I've gotten a bunch of books that after I did the math came to 17 cents a piece. It's all in the videos. If you go back and look at my videos over the years, you'll see what I've done. But yeah, I've gone over the budget, but for like, if I've spent $100 on it, I guarantee I probably have 75 books, if not 150 books, anywhere between that, and that's for special occasions, Hero Cons, Baltimore Con, whatever, if I really did this. Have you ever gone over your budget? Have you guys ever paid $100 for a comic? Number 4, have you ever complained about, I guess it's speculating and flipping? This is the thing that gets me. Apparently other people's, maybe it's the era that they started coming into the comic book collecting hobby, or they've seen things, because I've seen people do it with toys that work at like Walmart and stuff, and people that just go around and buy up these toys when anybody has a chance so they can put them on eBay, right? So when it comes to the speculating and the flipping, I've definitely not seen, and that's what I'm saying. I think there's an idea of the intensity of what they're doing, or the intent of what they're doing. If they're just buying books and they're not into the hobby to flip them so nobody else can get them and drive the price up. But I've never really complained about it, because part of my collecting, I really got into this in the 90s, in the 89, 90, 91 era. But you bought two of the same book, maybe 3 of the same book, and you knew they were going to be worth something, and you would trade or make money on it and put that money back into the hobbies. I'm not exaggerating when I say there's probably at least a 20-year span, if I was being nice about it, if not more, where I never touched my paycheck. It was comics paying for comics. I mean, that's no exaggeration. What we got here, Sleepy Reader, a test of nerdiness contains a bunch of ironies. I get what you're saying there, Sleepy Reader. I totally get it. But he had fun with it. Oh, Sleepy Reader has this video up, so we'll go check it out. Charlton66, Tony wanted me to tell you hello. Hey, Tony. Tell Tony I said hello there. Great hearing from her. Awesome. I'm going to send you a message later, and it's some of the things I mentioned to you back in the day about dates, wedding dates and stuff, right? And then Scott Connor is out there. What's up, Scott? Scott and I, if everything works out, are going to be seeing the 1933 King Kong movie that they're re-releasing the first time like in 60 years or something, man. So, yeah, that's awesome, man. I love when people I know in real life pop on here. That's awesome. But the speculating and the flipping, misinformation probably has gotten people. And I hate misinformation when it comes to comics. I hate normies coming on here trying to act like they're into the hobby. I just hate fake people. That doesn't just apply here to comic books. Across the board, anywhere you can smell them. You know what I mean? So as far as the speculating and flipping questions, I've spent way too much time on. I have a feeling that my experience is different than other people. To me, it's a part of it. You know, it's not the main reason you do it. I saw all the people get burned. I was working in a comic book shop when they were doing the death of Superman. I was behind the counter selling doctors and lawyers that had walked from across the road into the little tiny comic book shop that I have. It's a Subway now. It's a Subway restaurant now. I was there when they all got burned and they were speculating and stuff. I mean, I've had the pleasure of seeing instant karma hit them, where they realized, there's a million of these books. I'm not going to be able to buy a house or a boat or retire. Okay, have you ever paid to go to a con? Yes, I have paid to go to a con. I have paid for other people to go to a con, and I've had very good friends pay for me to go to the con. So I really don't know I'm not sure. Have you ever paid to go to a con? I'm not quite sure about this question. I only know of one con, that comic book con or a convention or anything like that was free. That's because it was on a college campus. Not quite sure. I think a question should have you ever snuck into a con? It's the case to your nerdiness. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and, with all due respect, I want to disqualify that question. So, because anybody can go to a con. Yeah. Number 9. Have you ever paid to get an autograph, photo, or sketch? Yes, for myself and for other people. And the biggest pleasure that I had was meeting Joe Sennett, because Nick Cardy was sitting beside of him, and it just wasn't registering who Nick Cardy was, because this is Joe Sennett who inked Kirby. You know what I mean? Like, I was starstruck. And then meeting George Perez and having Marv Wolfman and George Perez sign my Crisis on Infinite Earths. Now, here's one thing that it's funny this question has popped up, because the other night I was actually laying there. For some odd reason, it dawned on me that I met Jerry Ordway, had him sign some Batman stuff, the Batman movie adaptation from the Tim Burton Batman, talked a little bit, signed some other stuff. And it didn't dawn on me that I could have taken my, he inked over half of the Crisis on Infinite Earths books. I could have had, it killed me. I was like, no. And I think I met him twice. So kick myself in the butt there. I've had a few, I'm trying to think if I've gotten sketches for other people who sent me money that asked me to get them for them. Adam Hughes doing a Commandy for somebody. Now the guy to ask this question to, and I'm gonna go back and watch his videos, Charleston66 out there. And moving on here. So it looks like I might have skipped a few here. One of our budget complained about skipping. Have you ever received a comic as a gift? Yes, many times over. To me, again, the nerd thing here is really bothering me with that, because that's just an act of kindness. You know what I mean? You got somebody that, they want this, you have it, or you buy it for them. I did a whole live chat before here showing my birthday gifts and stuff. Yeah. I'm going to move on from that. I just don't consider that a nerd thing. Number 6, as an adult, have you ever decorated your home in comic paraphernalia? Do I really need to answer this? Do I really need to answer this? I have seen many homes with many corners and many sections of their house. I have one friend, Scott Connor introduced me to him, where basically his whole house except his kitchen is for movie and comic paraphernalia and stuff, right? Number 7, have you ever skipped work to read or buy comics? Oh, wow. I should have read these questions beforehand because I'm just like, have you ever skipped work to read or buy comics? No, no, no. The only time I think I've ever skipped, to be fair with this question, the only time I ever think I skipped work per se, I still had my hours in at work, so I had a few hours I could swing there. But I ended up seeing the X-Men movie. I skipped work to go see the X-Men movie, I guess, but it technically wasn't like I was lying about it. I already had the hours in and could move around and was out in the community doing visits. So I want to say no on this question, but like I said, I did skip work to get in there to see X-Men on the opening day on the first showing, which was probably around noon back then. It was so surreal to see Cyclops and Wolverine. Okay, out of everything, I could not believe what I was seeing. And you got to remember, this is like around the year 2000. We did not have our Marvel movies at this point. We had like Blade, so there you go. And then I did skip a couple there. Home, skipped work. Have you ever paid to go to a con? I'm just going to skip that one there. People are trying to get a hold of me. Number 10, have you ever bought multiple copies of a book? Of course, yes. Plus, not only have I bought multiple copies of a book if they were on the stand, but I have comic books that I buy just to give them a home. There's things that I see out there that I dig that cover, or it was something I saw I had as a kid or something. But there's certain books that I'll just spot them and I'll just buy them, even though I have them, and they're usually like in a dollar bin or a 50-cent bin. But yeah, multiple copies of a book out of love, and yeah, because I want to sell them later, maybe. Have you ever bought multiple covers of a book? I think that should have been before the other question there, because I just answered that. But yeah, I've bought multiple covers of a book because it's just a beautiful cover. I like painted covers from the 70s. Trying to think of a specific cover that I get just for the cover because it's fantastic. But Bill Sinkovich covers seem to be ones that I'll buy multiples of when I run across them. Amazingly, there's a Dazzler issue where she looks like a zombie, and it's of its era. It's a Thriller reference, Michael Jackson's Thriller reference. But yeah, it seems like I get Sinkovich covers quite a bit to actually hang up one day. Right. Have you ever complained you need to downsize your collection or need space? I have a stack this high right here beside me. So yeah, I've done that, and I've actually started downsizing. I did a series of videos. I think I did 3 or 4 showing you what I had at the time, and I'm still thinking about going through and downsizing. And that's cutting the cord, man. I will say that is an official nerd question, in my opinion. You complain instead of act on it. Yeah. 13, have you ever sent a book in for grading? No. Maybe one day. I have books that have been graded. 1 or 2. One I won in a contest, and one somebody sent me just to be nice. I honestly don't get the grading thing, but I do understand that if it's graded, somebody who is looking for a book will know exactly what they're buying because of that grading system. My problem with it is that it is objective to the person who is grading your book that you have sent it off. I also was around for when there was fraud where somebody switched out a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle book in there. I'm just kind of distrustful of it. And I don't care if that's my age. I have been burnt in the past. This doesn't come from the imagination. But yeah, I have no problem with people to get their books graded or want to get them graded. Jim Starlin's dropped out of it for the way he got treated over his signatures and stuff. I don't know if it's hurt or hindered the hobby, but anything that generates interest is good. And again, like I said, I was definitely hunting for a certain book and it is graded. At least I know there's some guarantee of me not getting ripped off online. Thus, we go back to the very first question. Have you ever nitpicked over a book over condition? I've been burned before. So yeah. I see the good and bad in it. That's what I'm trying to get at here. Oh, number 14. We're just flying through these. Have you ever sent a book in for cleaning or pressing? No. There are books I like to have pressed and clean. And it's amazing. I've collected comic books for so long that I can almost get a story in my head on what did the damage compared to the stuff that I have, over the years that I've had as a kid. As a kid, in the closet of this trailer, if you will, we had a toy box, and we would throw their stuff in the toy box. And I remember throwing some Mickey Mouse, Beagle Boys, Disney comics. I would just throw them in there to the toy box and pull them out, and they would be crumpled a certain way. I have a Machine Man #1. I would love to send it somewhere to have it pressed, because I look at it and I'm like, I've seen this damage before. Somebody had this in a toy box. Go figure, Number 15, have you ever chased a store convention exclusive? I'm sure I have. I think they were chase figures. Back in the day, I'm sure I tracked down like the Elephant Man Star Wars figure. I'm sure I did. I'm sure there was some action figure in the past I did, but as far as a comic, probably not. Well, no, we take it back. I have that Jim Starlin Rorschach #1 that I ordered. I just was very, very patient till that thing became affordable, and I ended up getting it for like $5 or something. It was 75% off on an online sale. I think that's what it was. 16, have you ever traded comics, and how? But I did it more when I was a kid, a lot more when I was a kid. And it really amazed me, because that's where I hear the stories from older people. But it seems like for decades, 60s, 70s, and 80s, you get by with 2 DC comics for a Marvel, But yeah, I traded a few things. That's how I got Justice League with the Justice League JSA crossover, where the Secret Society of Super Villains that took over, and we got the Ultra Humanite. What was that, like 197, 196? Yeah, I can think of some few books that I've traded that were well worth it. 17, have you ever stood in line, waited to get tickets, go to a comic-related movie premiere? Oh, yeah. But then again, everybody has to other movies. I think I've told the story. One of my precious memories is when the parents split up. Out of the blue, Mom just up and was like, get your stuff up. We're going to go see Return of the Jedi. And we ended up taking turns, and I'm sure she did most of it, because I was like 9 or 10 at the time. We ended up seeing Return of the Jedi after waiting in line for like 5 or 6 hours, and the line really did go all the way around this mall and out to the parking lot of people wanting to see Return to the Jedi. Some kid had taken a stool from the arcade, and he had fell asleep to be first in line at this theater inside this mall. The other time I can think of was Superman Returns with Brandon Routh, which was fine. I like that movie. We were doing a training out in Virginia Beach or Williamsburg, and it was my first time going to an IMAX theater to see that. And I was with a bunch of people at work. And it was a midnight showing, and apparently some of the women there, some of the girls that were working there were real pissy about it, and they started having technical difficulties. So they ended up getting a newspaper or something, and they were trying to do Superman trivia, and they were getting every answer wrong. And I'd have people I worked with around me saying, this guy knows what he's talking about. Be quiet. So it was amazing. Charleston 66, I love trading comics, especially back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, I just got real hesitant of it during the 90s for some reason. I have no idea why. I lost that youthful spirit or something. I don't know. What do we got here? Have you ever gotten into a fight, physical altercation over comics? Not really. I'm sure if I really rack my brain, I'm sure there's probably been, some philosophical argument over who can beat who, or no, you're wrong with your history or something. I got to own it. I can't recall it, but I'm sure I've been involved. But I've told the story. The only physical altercation I've really had over this stuff is when, how old was I? I had been like 7 years old or something, and Paul Whited wouldn't give my Boba Fett figure back. And after I told his mom, and she wouldn't give it to me, wouldn't even say anything to him, I walked over and beat his ass and took my Boba Fett figure back. When you're 7, that's life. That's your life. That's your Boba Fett figure. You don't have a job. You think that's yours. It's like the Little Prince. That's probably like the Little Prince story. I could have maybe I could have went and got another Boba Fett figure. Who knows? Maybe I could have made it to the store at 7 years old to go get a Boba Fett figure, but it wouldn't be my Boba Fett figure, the first one I had. right? The first one that we bonded. But yeah, so yeah, I was a kid. I'm sure there's probably some stiff competition to beat people to the spinner rack. Maybe I can. That's probably more in the realm of this. Sam Guthrie's here. All right. Hickman's X-Men makes me want to physically fight right now, and I'm 42. Yeah. Just walk away from that stuff. Be one of us who have just walked away from modern comics. You're going to be a lot happier, or at least walk away from the Marvel stuff. I hate to be that guy, but it's the truth. Number 19. Have you ever trolled online, gotten into a post-war over comics? You tell me, guys. You tell me. Okay. You guys see, some of you guys have watched me for years. There's still a few people that have been out there from the beginning and stuff and altercated. I've been trolled before, and I have fought back in my style here, but it had nothing to do with the comics. It was freaking megalomaniacs, so, and people up with the political causes online for some reason or whatever. I don't know, but never over comics. But have I trolled anyone online before or gotten into a post-war over comics? I will own it. I have definitely, I wouldn't say I was trolling. I was either defending myself or I was pointing out something I thought was legitimate. I don't think I've trolled anybody just to be trolling. Oh, hold on. We have, okay. Toki Deathhammer says, yes, I have. LOL. Okay, that's good enough for me. I'm giving myself a point on that. Thank you, Toki, the hammer. That's funny. Red Vitamin Blue. Sounds like I walked in on a vetting procedure for someone's nomination into the arbitrary hall of geekdom. Got to say how much more interested in Howler stories than yes/no quiz questions. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I didn't read the questions beforehand. I wanted to get into that stream of consciousness and see if it triggered memories or anything like that. So yeah. I'm glad somebody out there appreciates it. I also like the feedback. Toki Deathhammer, I'm giving you 17 cool kid points for making me crack up, calling me out on my trolling somewhere. Okay. 20. Have you ever dressed up as an adult as a comic book character? I have tons of respect for cosplayers, right? I'm not saying so much for the last decade, but that doesn't mean I have a lack of respect. Maybe we'll say for the last decade, right? But I remember in the 90s where you would have cosplayers walking around, but you might see 6, 7, 8. You'd be lucky to get into the double digits, right? But every year you would see a few more. I respect those people who made their own costume. They had to be innovative. You couldn't go out and buy this stuff. You couldn't get online and buy this stuff. But these people would have, and it took a lot of nerve for them to go out and do this at the beginning. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. I remember the first time I cosplayed as the Riddler. And I made that costume and stuff, right? And thanks to YouTube, I have found a costume contest, cosplay costume contest from like 1973. That was fantastic. 3 people dressed up like Elric Moongloom. I can't believe I'm forgetting who the third person was. And they actually acted out a short, like 2 paragraphs out of one of the Elric books. A guy had dressed up like Captain Marvel Jr. And it looked like, this is what I'm talking about, having a lot of nerve and being innovative. But to become Captain Marvel Jr., I could tell that he went out and he got like blue pantyhose that used to come in those eggs for you guys that, remember those and stuff like that. So he could have the blue tights. He went all the way out for it. But it's also the infamous one where the 14, 15, 16-year-old girl dressed like Vampirella with the bat. And that was quite scandalous in the 70s. And she started having a cult following. What can I remember her name? I actually remember seeing an article of her. I recognized her dressed as Vampirella. She made a papier-mâché bat to go with it and stuff. But I remember seeing an article in the late 70s in one of those famous monster magazines or something. But I remember the picture. There was an article. I didn't read the article, and if I did, I don't remember it. But yeah, it's on YouTube somewhere, that early 70s costume play. So nowadays, I like the people who were doing it, we'll say like the first 20-some years, at least, what I understood and what I saw before it became a thing, where there's people who were more into the cosplay and showing up at the conventions and stuff. Became its own thing there for a while and really got out of hand for a while. Charleston 66, that's what it's all about. It's the stories behind the answers. Hey, thanks, man. Sam Guthrie, 1977. Cosplay was fine until it actually took over conventions. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I have seen it get much better over the last 3 or 4 years. I really do. I think it peaked. I think I think I've even seen a decrease in YouTube channels of the cosplayers. See, Sam Guthrie, cosplay was fine until they actually took over conventions. Charleston 66. The only one I would cosplay would be Willie Lumpkin. That's for me. Hey, guys, Willie Lumpkin is an iconic character, okay? So go for it, Charleston 66. That's awesome. That's awesome. Willie Lumpkin, that's awesome. Oh, is he a Kirby? When did he appear? Is he a Kirby creation? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to figure out when he appeared for the first time. Hidi Saha. Oh, that's good. Okay, where was I? Have you dressed up as an adult as a comic book character? Yes, I have. I think somewhere in the video I pulled out the Riddler costume. Amazingly enough, as a kid, I dressed up like Kiss. I dressed up like a robot, a mummy. I'm just now realizing doing this that I don't think I ever really dressed up. I made a superhero costume one time, but I ended up looking like Captain Klutz by Don Martin by accident. It was not my intention. Red Vitamin Blue. Oh, that's awesome. There's a nice little conversation going there. Okay, 21. We have actually gone through 20 of these questions. We're on 21. Have you ever lied about comic book collecting? No, absolutely not. And that, I was going to stay off of it and do this for fun, but the nerd geek thing, my thing is my attitude has always been when it comes to the comic book collecting, I totally understand the stigma. I totally got it. I'm sure I had a conversation somewhere where somebody wasn't interested, and I'm sure I got self-conscious, but I was very young. But my whole attitude has always been they're missing out. Now that time has gone by and this stuff went as close to mainstream as it's going to get, in my opinion, it was acceptable, and the words geek chic came out, Big Bang Theory hit, and all this stuff. And I think I kind of missed the days where it was your little thing on the side to do, because when you met other people who were into comics, you had much better conversations. You guys we really connected more. And it wasn't exclusive. That's just the whole deal. It wasn't exclusive, and nobody was left out of it. You collected comics because you liked it. You had a passion for it. And when you met other people, it was like you really appreciated finding those people more. It's kind of like a meme that I saw floating around where somebody's taking a picture of a bunch of kids sitting on their bikes outside and said, there's a day that you and all your friends went out and it was the last time you would ever play again. It's that kind of feeling, What do we got here? Scott Connor, her name was Heidi something a groaner. Charleston 6. Oh, I know what you guys are talking about, the girl from 1977. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't get me. Heidi Saha was her name. Charleston 66 is on this. It didn't register, guys. Sorry. Red Vitamin Blue. Yeah, it's got some similar. Her name was Heidi something or other. Yeah, people are getting on there. Heidi Saha. Gore Vidal. Happy birthday, Tim. Sleepy Reader tagged me to do this video, but like you, I don't like the application of the word nerd to comic readers. I'm in consultation with my attorneys. That's good. Oh, that's so good. That's awesome. Yeah. Like I said, I'm doing this for fun, but I finally reached my point. I need to maintain myself. I need to get emotionally back here in scene. Okay. But no, I've never lied about collecting comics. Never lied about it. Never really, like I said, volunteered the information, but I never hid it, never did anything. Like I said, my attitude, and I don't think it's an elitist attitude. It was really more of a place where it's just like, man, people are missing out. That kind of deal. Not like, oh, you're missing out. No, just like, man, they're missing. And like I told before, when the first Avengers movie came out, I went once by myself, once with some comic book people, and then once with some people who didn't read comics, but they obviously knew I read comic books. And towards the end of the movie, Well, probably right when they did the big circle where all the Avengers are finally on the street and they make their circle and they're ready to go back out and fight the aliens again or whatever. They slowly turned to me and said, "Is this what it's like reading a comic book?" And I got to look at them and I said, "Every month." So that's what I'm getting at. Hey, Gore Vidal and Sleepy Reader is here. So, and Gore Vidal, thank you for the happy birthday earlier tonight also. It came through my notifications. Appreciate that. Okay, 22. Have you ever flipped or specced on a book? Seems like we had this question before or something close to it. But yes, I have speculated and flipped on a book. But like I said, to me, it's more the miscommunication and more of the feeling like a used car salesman trying to flip a lemon, for something that's not worth. I mean, obviously people have had different experiences as I have, but that was part of that was part of the hobby growing up. You would buy 2 copies of a book, 3 copies of a book, hoping that it'd be worth something, and then you'd be able to trade. Maybe sell the book or something like that. But that was part of the collecting. It wasn't the entire reason you did it. Maybe the words moderation, opportunity. I don't know. I still don't see it as a bad thing, but I totally get, like I said, I know people who have worked at Walmart, or they're at Walmart at midnight. They're waiting for the clearance sales and stuff, and they wipe up all these, they take stuff before people can buy it, put it on eBay. I've seen YouTube videos where people will talk about the comics they went out and bought, and they will artificially be able to raise the price of that book on eBay because they've got a few hundred people watching the video, believing what they're saying in this little echo chamber they have. And then all of a sudden, all of the books that the guy was talking about in his video for about a week or 2 weeks are just outrageous because they trust the man on YouTube. He's on YouTube, so he must know what he's talking about. Not. The Mastodon. Hey, Howler Mouse, what's up? And Gore Vidal, Dewey, Cheatham, and Hal haven't got back to me yet, Sleepy Reader. They're still talking the attorney talk. That's awesome. I love that. Dewey, Cheatham, and Hal. Isn't that a Three Stooges reference there, Gore Vidal? Dewey, Cheatham, and Hal. Dewey, Cheatham, and Hal. Yep. Sleepy Reader, perhaps they'll recommend a pseudonym. That's awesome. So what number were we on here? Have you ever flipped? Yeah, and I've had flipped books. I'm the man on this channel. I have gone and found quarter boxes, 50-cent boxes, and dollar boxes, and ended up selling a few things on eBay. Off the top of my head, I did sell a book for $75 that I found for $0.25. So, it happens. I'm the guy that paid $2 for, what was it, Shazam? Shazam was at number 28, the first Bronze Age appearance of Black Adam. I bought the book for $2, and about a week or 2 later, it was the first time I ever had a crisis of conscience, and I actually did a video asking if I was a crook. Here I am having an existential crisis, and what do? I go to YouTube. I don't, who knows? Okay. People are still trying to get a hold of me. This never happens. I'll stop making this video, and I'll have nothing. Okay, here we go. Have you ever bought a figure, statue, etc. of a comic character? Yeah. And up until about 2006 or 2007, the half of what would be considered a comic book room or anything was over halfway filled with toys. I actually had action figures in the package and out of packages that probably took up more room than the comics at that time. I think it was in 2006, 2007 to a guy named Eric. I work with, he's from a small town and stuff, but I ended up selling a 350 piece Star Wars set to him, collection to him. About a year or 2 later, I got rid of all my Bruce Timm, DC Universe figures. I don't know how many I had of that. That was like 2 bins. That was the thing I started downsizing to get rid of those. Running out of space. I had over 400 DVDs at the time, and I have God knows how many VHS tapes I still had at the time because I had them from the 80s on up until about 2000. I don't know, 7 or 8. When I got rid of those, I sold those 3 for $5 at work, and they went quick. I made a fortune selling those, but I still kept some. Yeah, Gore Vidal has said yes, Tim. He thinks so. That was a. I love the Three Stooges. So okay, here we go. Getting back on this here. Now, have I bought a figure statue or of a comic character? Yeah. 24. Have you ever cried, been angry over reading a comic? The book that's famous is the Justice League book that Giffen and DeMantis came out with, and I do believe it was issue number 4. And when this came out, I'm going to say I was 14. My little brother was maybe 10. My brother lived with his grandparents. He would come down every other weekend, maybe. And when he did, he was like my responsibility, and that counts for everything, fun and everything, which is no big deal. But here's what we did. We would go, I would walk him over to Scotty's Pharmacy. He would have some money. He would get this set of books. I'd go around the spinner rack. I would get this set of books. We went and buy the same book. We'd go in my room. He'd get on a beanbag or a chair. I'd lay in the bed. We'd sit there and we'd read each other's books and trade off books like that. And, we just hung out and read books there, right? Read comics. And then Justice League number 4 came out. I was buying this book. I was down for it. And I think it was, like I said, I think it was number 3 or 4. But at the very last page, in walks Maxwell Lord with Booster Gold. And I threw the comic book. My brother looks at me. And he looks at me, and I don't even remember if he said anything to me. But I said, they put Booster Gold in my damn book. Flash forward about 13, 14 years, and we're having a conversation after, not really talking that much and stuff, right, over the years. And he brings up the fact that the only time I ever scared him, now, we were brothers. We would roll each other and body slam each other every now and then and other things, and stuff like, get a little rough and stuff. But the only time I ever scared him is when I threw a comic book across the room. Now, has a comic book ever made me cry? No. But there have been 2 books that actually made me jump. Made me jump like I was watching a horror movie and somebody did a jump scare. First one is The Crow. If you go back and read James O'Barr's The Crow, there's a few pages there where he sees the little girl, Sherry, I think, crying out on the stoop in the middle of Detroit in the middle of the night. She's got a black eye. And he goes up the steps because, the mom's with Fun Boy and stuff like that. And as he goes up the steps, all these cats start following him and coming around him and stuff. And he starts reciting a poem called "It's a Raymond Chandler Evening." And as I'm reading this, James O'Barr, I don't know how he did this. This is the psychological magic and talent of a great comic book artist or team that hits that sweet spot. But during the pages, the crow's going up the steps, and I'm reading this poem and getting into the rhythm of it. When the last line of the poem hits, the crow kicks in the door, and I actually jumped. I could hear the door. I'm probably about 21 or 22 reading this at the time, all right? And I never had anything affect me like that. And I was just like, holy crap. I actually took a minute there to, try to register what just happened. I was hypnotized by the book, the poem, and everything James O'Barr did in that moment. I heard the door kick when the crow kicked it in. It was amazing. The second time was actually early on in The Walking Dead, where they find a gated community, and they get in there and they start going into one of these houses because the whole community, a gated community, has a little brick wall all around it for security. And, and they get in there, and while they're going through this house, there's a big splash page where one of the zombies comes jumping out of the basement, and it actually made me jump. I could hear it. I felt like I was in a movie. What we got here? Charlton 66, Heidi Saw, who you were thinking about with the Vampirella cosplay back in the 70s. It was creepy. Okay. Yeah. And that's just it. That's just it. For me to see, I think, when did I find it? I'm going to say it was like 2000. We'll be conservative here. I'm going to say I found it. I remember where I was living at when I saw that video, and I only lived there for 2.5 years. So between 2010, we'll say 2012, I saw the cosplay, and I saw her come out dressed like Vampirella. Unfortunately, in the era that I grew up in, 80s on up, 90s and stuff like that, working in school and stuff, it didn't quite hit me like I'm sure it did in the 70s, but I do remember the 70s. And I remember the threshold of what was acceptable about a lot of things. I have stories for that too. So I totally get people flipping out on it, and I totally get that it was, creepy. Unfortunately, desensitized at the height of cosplay over the last, there in the mid 2000 teens. Holy crap, holy crap. To me, it seems it's probably very tame now. Gorvidal. I remember Tim Merritt recommending a Garth Ennis book about a pack of dogs trying to survive. He found it quite moving, I recall. It's Red Rover Charlie is what he's talking about, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's like Stand By Me with dogs in the middle of a crazy post-apocalyptic people losing their minds and becoming mindless zombies and stuff, right? And the dogs are just trying to get to the coast. It's one of my favorite and most if you like We Three by Grant Morrison, you need to read Red Rover Charlie. Red Rover and Charlie. It's three of the dogs in there. And the whole story is told from the dog's point of view. You can understand the dogs, but you can't understand the people. Okay. It's fantastic. If you like things like Watership Down, Plague Dogs, stuff like that, I think you'll dig this. I think you'll dig that. Actually, I think it's on my shelf. It's one of my favorite Ennis stories. I got to talk to Garth Ennis. If you look up my video of Howler Mouse meets Garth Ennis for it's like 20 seconds or something, where I met Garth Ennis, and I was able to ask him if Rover Red Charlie was a prequel to his Crossed books. Because one of my friends, Tim Anderson, freaked me out. He started out as a joke. The more he thought about it, he was like, "Hey, Tim, I bet Red Rover Charlie is a prequel to The Cross, just to mess with me." And then he was like, "You know what?" So I have a little talk with Garth Ennis about that. Charlton 66. For me, it's Conan, Tower of the Elephant, and What If number 3 made me tear up a little bit. Well, I'm going to go back and watch your video, Charlton 66. Once I saw you do the first, 2-3 questions, I didn't want to know any more of the questions because I was going to give this a shot. So that's awesome. I'm definitely going to go back and read your video. Tower of the Elephant. Scott Connor, we got to show this. Let me get this. Here we go. I can see Tim getting a secret decoder ring in the mail and then decoding a message that states, "Read your booster gold," then the yelled, "Booster gold, son of a bitch." Let's hope not. Let's hope that doesn't happen, Scott. I can't take it. I couldn't take it. Oh, booster gold. He won't go away. It's like they know. It's like they know. Okay, number 25. Do you have a comic-related tattoo? Well, no, I don't, but I have the Reservoir Dogs somewhere tattooed on me. We'll just leave it at that. And what's funny about that question is I'm probably going to be doing a video later on where on Instagram, I've been having a little bit of fun with Instagram. I've been using my imagination on Instagram because I'm starting to do a thing where I follow hashtags instead of following actual people on there. And it started with the Watchmen tattoos and stuff, but I'm starting to follow hashtags and tattoo parlors of people who are doing exceptional comic book work on people, sleeving them. Some guy had a full back tattoo of the Watchmen from an Amazing Heroes cover where Captain Metropolis is on it, and I think it was used in one of the role-playing games. I'm actually starting to, find these hashtags, try to save some of these pictures and stuff, because I'm actually going to do a video where we'll be live and I'll be able to stream through there and we'll be looking at the tattoos. Just an idea I had to play around. Twitter is absolutely horrible in my opinion. I actually had to block a porn star because somebody in my Twitter feed decided two people ended up sharing a video of Riley Reid in a car with a straw hanging out of her butt saying, "Do you want my butt juice?" And another porn star like going for it on Twitter. Ended up blocking all that, started spending a lot more time on Instagram. So yeah, I've been traumatized just because, I flipped through Twitter one time. But I go to Instagram and every now and then I might have to block some, spam account or something. Much better experience. Okay, guys, that was the 25 questions of Am I a Nerd or Not? And the score, it doesn't matter. I'm not a nerd or a geek. I am a collector of sequential art and an appreciation of good writing. And it just enriches the life of all of us that are involved in this stuff. That's about it, man. So thanks for everybody that's popped up here. I hope we had a little fun there. Great seeing everybody on here. Great seeing Gore, Charlton 66, Scott, Gretzky, Sleepy Reader, everybody that popped in here. Thanks a lot, guys. Rob Ripa, thanks again for the birthday wishes. What have I got here? 2.5 hours left on the birthday. I think I'm actually going to get a little snack. I got some grapes in here. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to watch American Horror Story 1984. That's finally hit on Hulu. I think I'm going to play around with that. And, of course, I'm going to wind down and read one of these books I shown earlier a little bit more. So, Charleston 66, we got to talk. Scott Connors, we're going to have a good time seeing the King Kong. And, again, man, try this video out. Like I said, one last time before I get out of here, if you decide you want to do this, the original questions are on The Comic Collector. That's his channel. Title of the video is How Big of a Comic Nerd Are You? ? A test. And in the description, he has the 25. See, it's going to focus. He has the 25 questions in the description. All right. So give this guy all the credit. As far as I know, he's the one that started this. So, yeah, have some fun with it. All right, guys. Oh, what do we got here? One last comment. Scott Connor, I just thought of the perfect costume for himself, the taco eater lad. You will be a member of the Legion of Superheroes. All right, everybody. I christen thee. Be excellent to each other. Have a great night. Later.